Good morning, everyone. I'm here at the Missouri Botanical Garden. We are going to take you on another one of our virtual walking tours. I'm sorry that we did not announce in advance this time. It was sort of a last-minute decision, but we couldn't resist this beautiful weather today, so I hope you will forgive us being impromptu this time. But yes, I am here in the Rose Garden with Cassidy, who is stopping to smell the roses.
They smell excellent.
And they smell excellent, he says, just in case you couldn't hear from the 6 feet social distance. But we do see a number of earlier roses coming up, so we wanted to show those off this morning. First of all, I'll get close so you can see. Beautiful blue skies this morning as well, and the sun is out. And with a rainy week in the forecast, we wanted to be here today to bring this to you. So, let's get walking. So here you can see some of these palms from the Linnaean house are out in the rose garden today. There's some tuck pointing work being done on the Linnaean house, so these were taken out of the way. It's a really beautiful sight to see. And some more roses blooming right here. Yes, it is a bit windy today. It's a nice breeze though, nothing too bad. And with the sun out, it's actually pretty warm with a jacket on. Or not, if you're Cassidy. There's some more plants from inside the Linnaean house.
Now, these are a lot of the citrus plants. This is an oleander. And there's a lot of citrus mixed in here as well. This is actually sort of a seasonal move for a lot of these plants. They're in the Linnaean house in the winter, and then when it finally gets warm enough out, they move outside. I think a lot of these citrus plants go to the herb garden behind Tower Grove House. And so there are some staff here that are taking these plants on their annual pilgrimage from indoors to outdoors. You can see a lot of our lilies are starting to come up. So all of these tall spikes here are different lilies. There's a lot of Asiatic lilies and things here in the Balm garden. And so we have lilies here. There's a nice little bud. This I think might be a peony getting ready to show off.
Yeah, it looks like a few are open over here.
This is a fun so if you can see these dark purple plants coming out of the ground, the spikes It's actually Amorphophallus konjac. So this is a relative of the corpse flower, the big stinky plant that everybody comes to see when that blooms. We actually showed off a couple of these in one of our greenhouse tours a few weeks ago, but they are hardy here in St. Louis, so we have some that are planted here in the bulb garden, and when they are fully in bloom, just like their bigger cousin, the corpse flower, they do have quite a stink to them. So I'm not picking up anything. I don't smell it today. Right now. But they look like they may just be getting started. I've seen them before where they're much taller. So. But that's a fun little surprise, visually and olfactory, when you're walking through the bulb garden in May.
And here in the central axis, it's time for the tulips to come out. Today we have a few horticulture staff on grounds who are working on that. Right now they're taking tulips out actually in front of the garden in that median in the entryway to the visitor center. And so soon those will be replaced with summer plantings. But you can see they're past blooming now, so time to dig them up. The iris garden, on the other hand, is at the peak of its bloom right now. We'll just stop and look at this for a minute.
Kristina and I were here last week with Taylor, who's the horticulturist who oversees the area. She took us on a tour of the garden, and if anyone is interested in hearing what she has to say about the garden, and she has some tips for homeowners, home gardeners that have irises as well, that tour is viewable on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, the garden's YouTube channel.
And if you want to spend some time taking a closer look at the detail of a lot of these individual irises as well, I was here yesterday live streaming some close-ups and some wider views as well, and that's also on our YouTube channel if you'd prefer to experience this area without all the talking that we are doing. Just take a moment to take it in more mindfully. So you can find that on our YouTube channel as well.
I do have one I'd like to show off. I'm a sucker for the names that all of these irises have, and there's one in particular that I was looking for, hoping it was in bloom last week, exactly a week ago. It wasn't, but it's here now. This is Iris Millennium Falcon, and I was really hoping it was going to be in bloom on May the 4th for Star Wars Day, and it wasn't, but better late than never. So that's just one of my favorite irises here in the iris garden. if we haven't mentioned it before on one of our tours, one of the things we like to mention is places for you to be able to kind of get a little peek at the garden from the outside. So over here along Tower Grove Avenue at Flora, there's this opening with the wrought iron fence that you can actually look in and see the iris garden. I actually saw someone here this morning with a camera taking photos from the outside. Kristina, you said you saw a family.
Yes, I saw a family here yesterday on Mother's Day who said they come here every year on Mother's Day to see the irises, and they came and were looking through right here. So you can't get up close, of course, this year, but if you live in the neighborhood and you're taking your walk, definitely worth making a stop by this area right now. There's a pretty good view.
Would be kind of neat to point out while we're over here is this horse chestnut in bloom. So horse chestnut is not actually in the chestnut family, it's in the Buckeye family. It's an Aesculus, and so it has these really big clusters of flowers, and Buckeyes are known for this palmate shape to their leaves, and you can kind of see up the tree these big clusters of flowers. So just a really pretty thing that's in bloom right now.
And you can see all over the ground too. They fall, make these pretty little puffs. It's really nice.
Another one that you might see that's in the Buckeye family that is in bloom now. We don't have one around us here, but the red Buckeye is actually in bloom. So if you're out and about and you see big, bright red stalks of flowers on a tree, that more than likely is a red Buckeye. Those are in bloom as well. You can see we have some staff back on ground. They've been doing a lot of weeding and getting things ready. That's Nathan. For anyone that's been following our YouTube channel, Nathan has actually been doing a series of videos in his own backyard, going through some of the plants that he has in his own home garden. And so that's something that is viewable on our YouTube page if anybody's interested. Really pretty clematis down here.
Oh yeah, almost missed that. And here's that fringe tree again. You can see the leaves coming out now.
We're coming up here on our other rose garden. So we started this tour in the Gladney Rose Garden, which is actually more than 100 years old. I think 103 years old this year. And this is the Layman Rose Garden. The Gladney garden is a little bit more formal, and this is a little bit wider and winding, and has a lot of other plants other than roses mixed in with it as well.
You can see those purple puffs.
Yeah.
I think Cassidy was about to mention them too.
Yeah.
But the ornamental onions. We posted these on Instagram over the weekend, and somebody commented and said, I never knew what those were called, but I always called them the Dr. Seuss flower, which is a pretty apt description, I would say.
So you're getting a lot of height and volume from the ornamental onions, and then you have lots of other things going in here. I believe that's foxglove, and we have lots of irises as well that are coming in. So it is a rose garden, but there's lots of other plants of interest in here, and you can see it's kind of starting to get into. I mean, this is something by the end of this month and into June, it's going to look really, really great in here.
Right, here's a rose right here. Just beginning. Most of them aren't in bloom yet, just the earlier ones. But and here ahead is some more roses. Also, yeah.
This is a really pretty bordered garden right here with the ornamental onions and a lot of clematis filling in down here at the bottom, and sage as well. Get that really herby scent. It's actually catmint.
Catmint.
I don't think it's the same as catmint. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. Feel free. This is another one that's kind of neat that's coming into bloom. This is Eastern Bee Balm, Lenarda. And for anybody who took part in the Shaw Nature Reserve virtual wildflower sale over the weekend, I know I bought a few things myself, including some of this bee balm. So that's a really nice native plant. And if anybody has taken advantage of any of the wildflower sales that we've done virtually with the Nature Reserve or through the Butterfly House or maybe somewhere else, if you have any questions about where to plant it or when to plant it or what you do when it's in the ground, our home gardening staff is still on call and answering questions. If you have any home gardening questions, so gardeninghelp.org is a great resource if you're going to be out on a day like today looking to do some gardening and you need a few pointers. What were the numbers? They answered 3,000. Was it 3,000?
I think it was 300. 300. But yes.
Lots of questions in April.
In April they answered 300 home gardening questions.
It's not a flower, but it makes me feel really good to see signs that our staff is back on grounds and doing work. That's Marissa, who oversees the Chinese garden, is in there weeding this morning. And it really is, there's just a lot more activity today than we've seen over the last 6 weeks or so, as we've found ways to safely get more staff on grounds and are really starting to get things looking good and getting prepared for the summer.
Oh yeah, another fringe tree tucked away back here. And straight ahead here you can see, if you've been following us on our tours with some regularity, this right here was bursting with red and kind of darker orange tulips pretty recently, just a couple weeks ago. Now with the rain and just being later in the year, they're all past. And you can see here, we've started pulling them up today. So there's the bulb. It is underground normally, that the tulips grow from. So these are coming up today as well, I believe. Catherine, I'm glad you asked about the peonies. We're actually on our way to go check on those right now.
I know my neighbor's peonies still haven't bloomed yet, so I think we probably won't see full peak out there, but we've noticed every week it seems like there's one or two more that come into bloom on that border edge in the Japanese garden, so that's where we're headed. I don't even know what that is, but we should go look at it.
Yeah. It's so bright.
Yeah, there's just this big bright red patch.
It might be peonies.
Could be, yeah.
They look so big. I think they are, yeah.
There's a few different types of peonies here. So there's some white ones and pink and red and some multicolored ones, all right here in this little corner. This is in the Kemper Center for Home Gardening. We just walked through the crabapple alley, which was bright pink itself a few weeks ago.
Let's see if we can find some more.
themselves on the
Yeah.
border of the lotus pool. Really soaking up that sunshine.
Yeah, let's see if we can get a little closer to these turtles. Though, as I've mentioned before, they scare pretty easily. Already some of them are bailing. Maybe you can see that though. It's pretty funny. Three brave souls remain. You can see them right here. Looks like we're coming up on some peonies here. Yep. So, we've got a few that are just starting to bloom, but definitely not fully open yet. But it looks like most of these right now are still just buds. But we'll walk down to the Koi Bridge and see. I see a few up ahead that are blooming right now.
And for anybody that's been following these tours from the beginning, I think our first one was mid to late May, or March, excuse me. And we drove by the peonies on that very first tour, and they were just starting to come out of the ground. So at a place where you've got big flowers like this, we were just seeing sprouts about 6 inches tall on our very first tour. And so in the span of about 2 months, maybe a little less, they've gone from just that little sprout to what you see here now. There also weren't leaves on most of these trees around us.
Yeah.
That's kind of hard to believe that it's been that long.
Yeah. Well, we will definitely be back to check on these peonies. But for today, I think we'll end here on this nice shot where you can see the ones that are coming up. the koi bridge in the background. Thanks for joining us as always, and stay tuned. We'll be back hopefully with more peonies next time.